Hi there, I'm Duncan Jameson, the Academic Manager here at OISE Young Learners in the UK. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, as I say, in the Oscar acceptance speeches, but hopefully this short video will give you a few ideas on how to use electronic resources in the classroom. I'll just give you some examples that we use here at OISE. Now OISE, we believe fundamentally that what we're doing should help students have an open mind and in turn take them into an open world. And I think electronics plays an important part in that, especially in the modern world. It's obviously a very strongly powerful tool for communication, and it's one that we're trying to use to its best advantage here at OISE. The kids that come on our courses, the kids that come on our courses are aged 7 to 17, and we want our courses to have a transformative impact on our students. So it's not just about learning a bit of English. We want them to change in their attitude to themselves, to grow in confidence, to see themselves not confined to their own nation, but to be part of a wider circle, an international part of an international community. So we have centres across the UK in 9 different locations, and this kind of multi-centre approach means that we can cooperate between centres, we can try out different things in centres and learn from each other. Obviously technology is a useful device, and we have cars, etc., to get across the country, but obviously it can be much quicker to use electronics, and I'll mention that a little bit during this talk. So, how we use electronic resources at OISE. I had a quick think and came up with a few things that we already have in practice that I think we've found are useful. The first one is the use of mobile phones. Now, the use of mobile phones is often frowned upon in class, but we actively encourage it. But we encourage it in a very precise way. We use it for speaking activities, for role plays, for presentations, for debates, etc. And we get the students to record themselves or their partner, and then they can watch the recording back of their spoken performance. Why do we do that? Well, we use it for a number of reasons. It's a good tool for reflection, of course. Students can see themselves, see what they're doing well, hear their mistakes, see the mistakes. For example, the paralinguistic features, so not just the language, but their body language as well. It's good for reviewing work, so they can focus on a particular area. They might do a role play that involves vocabulary of holiday or something, and then when they watch it back, they can hear those words again that they've been practicing, and it can help consolidate what they've been doing. We also include the use of student video in their learner portfolio. Now, OISE students have a learner portfolio, which is a series of can-do statements, and over the course they complete these can-do statements. So for example, I can express my likes and dislikes, and they would put an example of that in the learner portfolio. Now that can be a piece of writing, but more and more we're sort of encouraging the students to do it as a piece of speaking, so they would record themselves perhaps in conversation with another person, saying what they liked and disliked about films or TV or politics or whatever. It's a useful resource for assessment, and the teachers can look at these videos. We can set a speaking task, and then they can watch them after the class and pick up how well the students are getting on in class and how well they're using the language that's being taught. It's motivating for the students. It's something from their world. There's a consequence of a speaking activity in class. They are going to see it, or their peers are going to see it, so that kind of motivates them to do a better job sometimes. And of course, this kind of mobile technology can be used outside of the class, so it can be set as homework, where you ask them to record themselves talking about a particular issue or essay question that you've set, and they can just talk about it, and then bring it in and show it in the morning, or you can set them a short presentation to do, or news story, and they come in and they can show that story in the morning to their peers. And of course it's part of 21st century citizenship as well, and they have them on the phones, they're using them in their own life, and what happens in the classroom should reflect what goes on in the wider world. OISE were keen to push life skills and push the skills that students will need outside of the classroom. These videos are really useful for the teacher. There's lots of information that you can glean from these videos. It's not just accuracy, of course, of language, although that comes into it, but you can have a criteria where you give them feedback, they give the student feedback on their fluency, their accuracy, their pronunciation, of course, and they can hear where it's not right, perhaps more when they hear it back than when they're saying it. And discourse, how well one point follows another, and the range of vocabulary they have. Is it wide? Is it quite limited? And in watching this video back, you can make suggestions for the student or the students about what they could do to widen their vocabulary and give them alternatives, so elicit alternatives from other students. And also the body language. Is their body language positive? Are they looking at the other person, or have they got their eyes on the floor? Do they seem interested in what the other person's got to say? Which brings us to interaction. Is how they are going to reflect positively on the conversation? Will they come across openly, friendly to the other person, or will they appear closed? Do they ask questions to show interest, or are they not interested? So all of these things come into play, not just the language, and having the reflective tool of watching videos back is very powerful in the classroom. And at OISE we have nice small groups, a maximum of 8, so we can really hone in and focus on these individual issues that students are having. So I mentioned the idea of these can-do statements that we have. So each day there'll be a number of can-do statements, and the lessons will incorporate that and work on that, but scaffold the lesson in such a way that these can-do statements they can do by the end of the lesson or the end of the day. And video is a nice way of recording what they've done. Also, at the beginning of courses, there are a couple of apps we encourage students to download. We encourage them to download the next 2 apps I'm going to tell you, partly because they're free, and who doesn't like a free app? And we think they're both very useful apps, and they're useful to help foster learner autonomy. Both apps have a feature where students are taking control of their own learning. The first one is a British Council app, and it's called My Word Book 2. If you Google it, you can download it free onto your Android or iPad or iPhone, whatever you've got. It does a number of things. There is part of it where you can buy add-ons. For example, you could buy all the vocabulary sort of intermediate level, etc. But how we use it and the way we use it that we find most useful is one of the free parts of the app. And it's a very simple vocabulary recording device. So how it works is a word comes up in class. I know it's quite small, but this is a picture of a marathon. So the word marathon comes up, and perhaps if students didn't know it, on their phone in the top line, they tap in the word marathon. There's a gap underneath where they can put the translation if they want. We don't necessarily encourage them to do that, but they can. And then the next bar down is the part of speech, noun, adjective, verb. So it's a drop bar and they choose the correct part of speech. And then in the next line, they can put a definition of the word in English. So it's a race in which people run for 26 miles. And then underneath, they put the word in an example sentence. So I'm running the London Marathon this year, for example. And so they put in the word. They can also say the word and record it. And they build up the words. So these can be the words that they come up in class that the teacher is teaching, or have emerged through the need from a student who's asked for a certain lexical item. And the student builds up all these words. They can review them, looking through them, but there are also quizzes and multiple choice. So it would take your word marathon and it would give you the example sentence that you used. It would remove the word marathon and give you a choice of 4 words, so multiple choice, and you could put in the correct word. So a really nice tool. It helps them record vocabulary in a good systematic way. Also gives them the chance to review, which of course is very important. And it's kind of fun and engaging, and also puts the onus on the recording of vocabulary on the student as well. The second app we encourage students to download, it is also free, and it's the Sounds Pronunciation app, which was devised by Macmillan with Adrian Underhill, who conceived the phonemic chart in English here. And this is a nice app, again, interactive. It has quizzes and games. It gives you the phonemic chart, and if you tap on the symbol, it gives you hear the sound of the phonemic symbol. There are a number of words already on the app, and you can hear the word, see it in phonemics, and also you can record your voice and play it back and compare it to the standard on the app, so students can play with their own pronunciation until they feel it's similar. Another game on it is you get the word in English and you have to type the words in phonemic script, and conversely there's another game where you're given the word in phonemic script and you type the word in English script. So 2 nice little apps that are useful for students and to foster that sense of learner autonomy outside of the classroom. Also at OISC we have a resource website for our teachers, and this website has a whole host of things. I'll just type in the passwords because it's protected for our staff. So just missed that letter there. But there's a whole host of things that we have here. What we did is we have this platform called Synergy, and it's quite easy to work with. You're able to upload things onto a website, and what happens is over the winter, as we come across resources, we store them and then pop them up here if we think they'll be useful for our teachers. Now, for the young learner teachers, there's a whole host of things. There's courses that we have, so it gives you what happens during the day, but we also have lesson plan packs, which we encourage teachers to use, but they can adapt them. And they're all up here. They have information about how they're used, and then they have lesson plans and worksheets there. And we have that for all the courses. So quite prescriptive in some ways, but lots of flexibility for the teacher to adapt for the needs of the student as well. Also on this site we have a professional development area for teachers, and we include lots of essays, videos from YouTube and what have you, of areas that would be useful for a teacher to develop. So for example, there's a page in classroom management, so there's essays on the challenge of teenagers, emotional intelligence and ELT, getting teenagers talking, inspiring teenagers, motivating teenagers. So all the kind of things that would be useful for a teacher who's coming into this kind of role. And there are videos as well, which I kind of wanted to just highlight too. It's a very simple thing. Is what we do at the end of a course is we get the teachers a teacher session where they share an idea they've had during the course that they found very useful. They do the session. At the end of the session, the academic manager in the centre gives them 1 minute, and they then describe their idea in 1 minute to the camera, and we upload these ideas to the website, and that way we kind of build up a stock of videos of all our teachers kind of giving each other advice in different areas. I mentioned that because accompanying this video are a couple of short videos that I picked out of a couple of teachers actually talking about apps that they use in class. One of them is Dojo, which is for behaviour, it's a scoring idea for behaviour, and Kahoot was the other one which you can watch, which is one about making quizzes, multiple choice quizzes from what you're doing in class. So it's a way to jazz up a test, or it's a way to recycle vocabulary or grammar or what have you that's come up in class. So you can watch those videos if you want after this one. And we also have photocopiable resources. What we've done is we've scanned photocopiable books, the ones that doesn't breach copyright because they're photocopiable, and put them on the website, so making them electronically available to the teachers. And of course, in many of our centres we have interactive whiteboards, which is great because it means the lesson plan packs and the worksheets that we give our teachers, they can put up the worksheet on the board and they can describe it to the students, so the students aren't looking down at their paper and not paying attention. They can be looking at a teacher who explains how to use a worksheet before the students use it themselves. So very simple but nice kind of effective classroom management tool. We also have links to IATEFL, the talks that are recorded at IATEFL, links to webinars, etc. Ideas for helping if you have dyslexic students, and a whole host of other things. So it's a great resource and something we're building up over time, and it's definitely something every school should kind of think about and invest in. It kind of grows itself, and others can input and put things on it. But it's something that we find very, very useful here at OISE. Another thing that we've exploited quite a bit at OISE is the use of Skype. And the way we've used it most predominantly is with our debate class. One of our lesson plan packs is around debating skills, and over the course of the week they learn debating skills, and then on the Friday it leads up to a large debate. Now we've done this within centres and within classes, and it works well, but what we thought would be nice, having the advantage of having multiple sites, is setting up a debate between centres. In the picture you can see a debate set up between our school in Bristol in the southwest of England, and Folkestone, which is on the other side of the country in the southeast. So the students in the different centres prepped for a particular debate topic, one pair for, the other pair against, and then they debated across Skype. The feedback from the teachers doing this and from the students themselves was how motivating it had been for the students. Knowing they were going to debate with someone else from elsewhere was very motivating for them to try and do a good job. Also, you can use Skype in other ways. For example, we've used it to find out about what happens in different places. So again, for example, Bristol and Folkestone, you can get a class to ask what's life like in that particular place, and a series of questions, and the students in that place can tell them, and they can sort of compare and contrast what goes on in these different places. So comparing and contrasting, you know, like part B of first certificate, for example, and a useful linguistic point to to focus on too. And it feels real as well. It's nice, this kind of that they have a shared OISE family, not just in the school they're in as well, and they can ask about differences about what happens in the different schools and activities outside of class, etc. So that's been really useful. We've also found Skype really useful for observation, in the sense of me as the academic manager, with 9 different sites. Obviously you can't be in 9 different sites at once, and over the summer we do a lot of observation. All the teachers are observed at least twice, once by myself and by the academic manager, and we encourage peer observation as well. But sometimes if you need to be on the other side of the country, you can't necessarily be on the other side in the same day. So we've very simply set up a webcam and a computer and observe the lesson that way. And we worked out that it could be useful for teachers who would like a certain part of a lesson observed. They're trying something out and they would like feedback on it. It can be used if, for example, academic manager in the centre feels that a teacher needs some extra support. It's also been used because some of the feedback we got from teachers who had been observed in this way said it actually felt less intrusive than having somebody sitting at the back of the room writing and observing you in person. And they said that for the students as well, they didn't really notice that you know, they were being recorded as well. And so also the good thing about this is that you can then follow up the observation even if you're not in the centre by a Skype call, and you can do face-to-face feedback with the teacher you've observed, much the same way you would do in person. So it's definitely a tool that we've used and are looking for other ways to exploit. The third way we use Skype that we find very effective is again multi-centres. We do teacher training sessions at lunch times, and again you can't be in all the centres at lunchtime, so on occasion we've done Skype hangouts where the class, there's a camera in the class, so you, for example, I'd be sitting here in Oxford doing the training session, and the camera would show the group of teachers and you would run the training session as you're there. The academic manager on site would be there to provide the handouts or whatever you have for your session, and it would run very much like a normal session. And with Skype, you can actually be adventurous and do more than one centre at once. You can have 2 or 3 centres on the call. Having done that, I have to say, in retrospect, that it is probably better to do one centre at a time, because if one group finishes before another, you have to wait for the others, etc. So focusing on one centre probably works best, but it's definitely a tool if you are in a position where you have multiple sites, that this is definitely a good way to exploit Skype. Again, a free, useful tool. And for the kids, we also have Twitter accounts, and we have the OISE Twitter account is hashtag BOISE, and students can tweet what they like, and we also sometimes input our own ideas to help them with their learning, or just to provoke thinking in the students. So for example, the most recent one is 4 reasons for Olympic athletes to learn a foreign language. Of course the Olympics has just finished, and that was last week's one for them to look at why Olympic athletes need to know English. And the one underneath that is about Cambodia, because we have some Cambodian students with us at the moment as part of our charitable arm. We provide charity to a girls' school in Cambodia, and part of that charity is that high achieving students will be able to come over to the UK in the summer and attend one of our summer courses, and that's been great. It's helped create a more international feel. Often our students are from Northern, Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. So it's great to also have Asian students there as well. And the students really enjoy this because they often don't know very much, for example, about Cambodia. So there's a real communication gap and a real want to understand about the culture of another country. And it's one of the good things about OIC and the mixed nationality classes, is that they learn a lot about international culture, but of course they also learn about UK culture and being immersed in the UK environment. One other thing we've got for the students is we also have Instagram, so they can put their pictures of their experiences as they happen live, and often students will comment on these and saying thank you for these 2 weeks, I'll miss you, love you to the moon and back, and things like that. But genuine, real communication between international students. Perhaps a lot of relationships now happen over the medium of the internet, but I still think people meeting originally together in the flesh and getting to know each other is much better, of course. And then on the courses, the students get to know each other, and then you can keep up the relationships with the people from the other countries beyond the course. So kind of 21st century kind of pen pals, but obviously they can communicate much more often, and in a way that is more real to their day-to-day lives. So that's just a couple of ways that we use electronics in our classes here at OISE. If there's anything there that you interested in and like to know more about, don't hesitate to contact me. My name is duncan.jameson@oise.com. Academic manager for the young learners here in the UK. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope that there's something here that was useful. Thanks a lot. Bye now.